Hey, what's going on, Guardians? My name is the Black Link, and today is the day, November 27th, 2018, the official end of Season 4. It is gone. We have moved on into Season 5. And oh man, are there so many things to talk about today. We had a huge update go into effect. We're going to have another video going over the patch notes for that, but we also had the Bungie ViDoc, titled The Road Forward, that showed us not only what we're going to be getting in the DLC drop next week with Black Armory, but also what we can expect to see in Joker's Wild as well as Penumbra further on into 2019. And so in this video, we're going to be covering that ViDoc, talking a bit about some of the things we learned from it, and going over some of the new things that you're going to be able to jump into next Tuesday. If you Guardians haven't seen the ViDoc, you don't want to be spoiled on any of that, I'm going to leave a link to it down in the description box below to make sure you go and watch that before you watch this video with a bit of a wrap up of everything that's going on in there. There's a lot of really awesome information that is really well covered in that ViDoc. You should definitely go check it out. But for those of you who would like to hear my thoughts on it, let's dive on in. Of course, Black Armory is dropping next Tuesday on December 4th. We are 1 week away from that content release. But it's certainly not the only thing that's going to be happening next week. Of course, we've got the Dawning coming back. Ava Levante is going to be returning. We got to see her within the ViDoc here. The Dawning is going to be popping up as part of the free seasonal update. This is going to be something that's available to everyone out there, and is going to be a part of the big content release that went live today. We're going to have a new power increase when Black Armory goes live, new vanity rewards, new rank rewards, new triumphs and lore books, all kinds of things going live next week. And in this ViDoc, we get to see a lot of it. We get footage of tons of new weapons, including auto rifles, a new sniper, a new heavy machine gun, and even more. We'll be talking about that in just a little bit. But they go on to explain a few things. One, every season/annual pass release is going to be increasing the power cap by 50 points. That means we're going to be going from 600 to 650 when Black Armory goes live. And then when Joker's Wild goes live later in 2019, we're going to be going from 650 to 700, and then 700 to 750 when Penumbra drops in summer of 2019. This power level increase is going to apply to all Forsaken owners. No more being left behind if you haven't picked up the annual pass yet. If you're just a Forsaken owner, you can still reach the new max power level by doing your weekly milestones for Nightfall Strikes, for PvP, all that kind of stuff. Great change moving forward. In the ViDoc, they talk a bit about leaving that access open to everyone, so that everyone who owns Forsaken can reach the max power level. But in-game stuff is going to be tied to the annual pass content. Stuff like the raid, stuff like the Lost Forges, that's going to be tied to the annual pass content. Speaking of, we actually got to see some of the new Lost Forges game modes in Black Armory. And it turns out this new Horde type game mode is going to have a pretty heavy tie to the Black Armory story. As a part of that, we get to learn who that mysterious Exo is. Her name is Ada 1, and she's basically going to be our new NPC rep for the Black Armory. The Black Armory is a faction that's focused on being the greatest weaponsmiths in history. They've stayed mainly hidden from the Vanguard, but their entire thing is all about building the greatest, most destructive, most powerful weapons that the world has ever known. And Ada has been there guarding their weapons and secrets of the Golden Age from the Vanguard. She doesn't trust the Vanguard, and she doesn't trust Guardians. So the story is very likely going to be about us earning her trust as she sends us out. She needs our help to go and reclaim what's called the Lost Forges. She sends us out to reclaim and relight these forges to help further build the Black Armory. Basically, we have to reignite these forges and use them to create new weapons. That's right, baby. In this, we're becoming gunsmiths of the Black Armory. And the ViDoc gives us a great look at this incoming game mode. The Lost Forges activity is going to be a new Horde mode, that new Horde mode that was rumored for a long time, where we essentially get to become blacksmiths of powerful new weaponry. They show off plenty of gameplay footage of this. You're taking out enemies, you're getting what looks to be charges, and then throwing them into the forge to reignite it, which apparently allows us to build new weapons. This is a new game mode that has exactly what a lot of Guardians have been looking for when it comes to stuff like Escalation Protocol and Blind Well. It was something that was introduced with the Haunted Forest back in the Festival of the Lost. That's right, we're finally getting matchmaking for this Horde game mode, which really could not make me any happier. I love Blind Well, I love Escalation Protocol. Matchmaking is something that those game modes really needed, so I'm super happy that we're finally going to be getting that with the Lost Forges in Black Armory. And another fan suggestion that we've been getting a lot of is, of course, specific rewards for the horde modes we have in the game. We got some of that with Escalation Protocol, not so much with the Blind Well, but it definitely looks like that's going to be the case when it comes to the Black Armory. Remember, we're building weapons within this thing. We are the gunsmiths. We are the blacksmiths of the new weapons of the new golden age. I love it. And thankfully in this ViDoc, we get to see a ton of the new gear that we'll be going after when Black Armory drops. First off, we get to see a brand new Void LMG. It's got a really cool visceral sort of look to it, almost reminds me of some of the Siva type weapons we were getting way back in Wrath of the Machine. Keep your thoughts on that. We might be revisiting that a little bit later in this video. We get a new grenade launcher that looks kind of like a mix of a standard grenade launcher and the Lord of Wolves. This thing is really interesting. I do believe it's one of the new exotics. It fires 3 charges that connect on the ground and then spread devastating arc damage. You're basically shooting each of these grenades like a node that will stick to a surface, and then once you've got all 3, the 3 will connect via an arc line and blow up anything within it. We get to see it a couple times within the ViDoc, but the effect looks really powerful. And thanks to the awesome work of Tim Clark over at PCGamer.com, we actually got the name of this grenade launcher exotic, as well as a few other exotics we'll be getting in Black Armory. Its official name is the Anarchy, and its special ability is called Arc Traps. And as you can see here, grenades stick to surfaces and chain arc bolts to other mines. This is definitely a unique looking gun within the world of Destiny 2, and its ability looks like it could have some real potential for setting up trap plays. Additionally, we learn a bit more about the history of some of the Black Armory weapons, and that they have different stylings based on 3 different weapon foundry families. These families are going to have traditionally Japanese, Norse, and French weapon styles that you'll be able to see within the Black Armory. And they go on to talk about some of the specific weapons that we'll be getting. In particular, I do believe one of the incoming sniper rifles is titled Uzanagi's Burden. This, I do believe, is that big sniper we've been seeing in a lot of the production photos for quite some time now, and it's got an absolutely ridiculous ability. It is a 4-round sniper that can load all 4 rounds into one shot after a special reload animation, allowing for massive damage in PvE and one-shot body shot ability in PvP. This thing is essentially final round from way back in year 1 of Destiny 1 in exotic form. I do believe Uzanagi's Burden is supposed to be an exotic sniper rifle. If it's not, that's going to be even crazier if it's a legendary, but I doubt they'd put that kind of perk on a legendary weapon. But yeah, that's insane. You can load all 4 of those shots into one round after a special reload animation. I wonder what the trigger conditions for that are going to be. And then you've got enough damage to one-shot body shot in PvP. Super interesting. Josh Hamrick is on the ViDoc talking about how this thing is going to compete with Whisper of the Worm and Sleeper Simulant, which makes me really happy that within this update they didn't nerf either of those 2 exotics. Instead, when they're introducing new stuff, they're just going to make that new stuff super powerful to have it compete with already set loadouts within Destiny 2. Fantastic. And here you can see the name for the Uzanagi's Burden special ability. It's titled Honed Edge. Holding reload consumes the magazine and loads a round with additional range and damage. So all you'll need to do to activate that special reload is hold the reload button. You're going to load all 4 of those shots into one single final round and then blow your enemy away. This is definitely a wild ability, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this thing places in PvP game modes as well as PvE. Next up, we get to see an exotic bow that's going to be very interesting. Its official name is Le Monarch, but Hamrick and Greg Ping described it as being thorny, and from what we got to see there, it certainly looks like it. It seems to spread a dot AoE to nearby enemies. So you fire this thing, it hits an enemy, it sends out kind of a shockwave within maybe a couple of meters, 3 to 5 meters, and then hits anything within that range with a dot. So take Thorn back in D1 and add a spreading effect to it, and that looks like what you've got with this bow right here. Based on the images that we got, it looks like it's a void damage bow, so it could be something really interesting. Can't wait to learn more about that one. The official name of this ability is Pestilence Arrows. On a perfect draw, a hit target receives damage over time. On a perfect draw with a precision hit, all enemies in the void cloud receive damage over time, so you'll need to land a precision shot on a perfect draw if you want to spread that dot to any surrounding enemies. Meaning you'll definitely need to play it smart with this thing, but there's absolutely some utility there. Then, we got a new fusion called Jotun, And this thing is probably going to be one of my favorites when Black Armory goes live. It looks like Mega Man's Buster, you know, his arm cannon, and it fires a giant tracking fireball slug that sets the ground on fire. This thing looks like it's really fun. We didn't get too much gameplay footage of it within the ViDoc, but it looks like it's going to be a really interesting, really fun weapon to play with. I love that it's basically a mega buster on your arm. I love that the slug itself can track, and it's bringing back kind of that old school Dragon's Breath ability of lighting the ground on fire. Definitely a very unique weapon within the world of Destiny 2, and you wouldn't think that it's a fusion rifle, but apparently it is. This entire Black Armory weapons list is actually insane. And I cannot wait to see what other exotics we're going to be getting with it. Speaking of, we're going to be getting 5 exotics in total. 4 brand new and 1 returning. And I wonder what that 1 returning exotic could be. Well, we get ourselves a rather beautiful teaser for it. The Last Word. That's right, Guardians, it's finally time we get a quick clip of a hunter walking and you see that beautiful baby from Destiny 1 strapped to their hip. Is that Shin Malphur? Well, at some point in time we're going to find out. That quest I do believe is going to be dropping in January, so you are going to have to wait a couple of weeks before we can really dive into that one. But I'd say at this point it's all but confirmed that the Last Word is indeed returning. As I said before, the quest for it is going to be dropping in January 29th, and it's the exotic quest, The Draw, with a picture of what looks to be Shin Malphur and a very charred Callum against the wall. That definitely is going to be a little bit of a time-gated wait for that D1 classic, but don't think that means you won't have plenty of things to do while waiting for the exotic quest to go live. Alongside this ViDoc, we also got a couple of images basically giving us a calendar of content that's going to be releasing with not only the Black Armory, but also with Joker's Wild and Penumbra later next year. In particular, with Black Armory, here's the schedule of content. Next week, December 4th, the Volander Forge is going to open up. This is going to be the first of the Lost Forges. A few days later, on December 7th, the Gofanon Forge is going to be opening as well. And then, also on December 7th, the new raid will be dropping. So, a couple of days after Black Armory goes live, you're going to be able to jump right into 2 forges as well as the incoming raid. Which, by the way, both on these calendars, these content roadmaps, and in the ViDoc, they don't refer to the Last City raid as a raid lair. They call it a full-scale raid, so I hope you Guardians are ready for some full, meaty encounters within this activity. Then, on December 11th, the Dawning is going live and will of course be free to all players whether they own Black Armory or not. Next up, on December 18th, we've got the Izanami Forge going live. Then, on January 8th, the Niobe Labs, which looks to be the final forge unlock for Black Armory. Of course, after that, on the 29th, we've got the exotic quest The Draw, and then on February 5th, we've got Crimson Days, which is going to return and be free to all players. By that time, we're only a month away from Joker's Wild, which is going to start this new content release season all over again. And I think this is brilliant. This is a brilliant way to pad out your content in a meaningful way, giving players something to do for a 3-month period while they're waiting in between those seasons. With the way this is timed out, it certainly looks like there's going to be plenty of things to do in the endgame of Destiny 2, which Bungie explicitly states is their goal within this ViDoc. They say that they're going to be moving away from the big expansion releases and they want to do things more like this to give players a constant stream of content, a constant stream of things for them to do in between big releases. I love that, and I definitely love this. I'm super excited for the content that's coming, and you can see that on the other gameplay calendar that shows off the other 2 seasons. You can see with the Season of the Drifter, we've got After Crimson Days, we've got Gambit private matches and new maps, new exotic quest, a spring event, a power level increase of plus 50, new triumphs and lore books, new vanity rewards, new rank rewards, and for the annual pass content, we've got, of course, new exclusive Joker's Wild weapons and gear, another new exotic quest, new triumphs and lore, new Gambit experiences. We're going to have a new in-game game mode for Gambit. Super interested in that. Xur is getting bounties in Joker's Wild. Cannot wait to see what that's going to entail. And then the Joker's Wild weekly quest. Finally, in the June to August period, we've got the Season of the Redacted, which is reported on Bungie's website as the Season of the Shadow. Don't know if that's going to change. This is going to be the Penumbra DLC. In the ViDoc, they talk about this one being a little bit different. They say it's going to be less focused on an in-game pinnacle activity and more focused on exploration and secrets. We've got a new exotic quest. The Solstice of Heroes is going to be dropping once again, a power level increase, new triumphs and lore books, new vanity rewards, new rank rewards, and Iron Banner for the seasonal update. For the annual pass content, we've got new weapons and gear, a new raid, new triumphs and lore books, a new 6-player matchmade activity, very interested in knowing what that is, and 2 redacted pieces of content. Mystery is going to be flying high until the summer of 2019. But moving back to the Black Armory, there were a couple of other things that we needed to cover. First off, we got a bunch of new mods shown off in this. That's right, the ViDoc showed us some really powerful, really interesting new mods that we're going to be able to add to our weapons very soon. Here's what they look like. First up, we've got Quick Access Sling. This allows you to swap weapons faster for a short duration after emptying a magazine. Then we've got Surrounded Spec, which increases damage granted by the perk Surrounded. Bonus damage also lingers for a brief time when no longer surrounded by 3 or more enemies. Next up is Dragonfly Spec, which increases the radius and damage of Dragonfly. Then we've got Rampage Spec, which increases the duration of Rampage. Sprint Grip, which temporarily increases the weapon's ready speed and ADS speed after sprinting. It's basically a free quick draw. And then Radar Booster, which slightly increases the range at which the radar detects enemies. Those are the new mods that they showed off in the ViDoc, and those are really powerful. Some of those, like Dragonfly Spec, basically is probably going to hopefully turn Dragonfly into the Firefly perk of old back in D1. The Rampage Spec is exactly what I've been wanting for Rampage for so long. I think Rampage is a fantastic PvE perk, but man, do you run out of it quickly. So a mod that allows Rampage to last a little bit longer. Oh man, you mix that in with the Breakneck, which is that new Gambit Pinnacle weapon that stacks Rampage, and as you stack Rampage, increases rate of fire. I could see some really great builds between that, the Actium War Rig, or like a Rally Barricade or a Lunafaction Rift. This is what I wanted to see a year ago when it came to the mod system. I'm so happy that this is happening now. But of course, we talked a little bit about the raid. This is going to be the last real thing we discuss in this video. They show off the raid, and again, not a raid lair, looks like it might be a full raid experience. That's what they all referred to it as in the ViDoc here. This raid is going to be taking place in the last city. That's right, Guardians, for the first time ever, we are heading into a raid in the last city. And we get to see plenty of that in the ViDoc here. First things first, this thing is again dropping on December 7th, so a few days after Black Armory goes live, you'll be able to jump right into here. According to the Bungie devs, we'll be dropping into an older part of the last city that we've never been to before. This raid is going to utilize puzzles, vehicles, and more. And we get to see some clips of that of Guardians riding sparrows through parts of this raid. And they specifically refer to parts of this raid as being kind of a throwback, a callback to the Wrath of the Machine from Rise of Iron. Now, this is going to be a raid that's going to have its puzzles, but it's going to be far more focused on high-octane combat and excitement, which, I don't know about you Guardians, I'm super excited for. I love the puzzles within the Last Wish raid, but I love the feeling of like the bare-knuckled fight that we had within Wrath of the Machine as we were just powering our way over to Axis. It was a great feeling, and I'm super happy knowing that A, this raid's happening in the last city. That is a criminally underutilized area. Maybe we'll even be seeing parts of our old tower or something within it there. I can literally taste the nostalgia there. And we'll be facing off against what looks to be new fallen enemies. We didn't get to see too many of the enemies within this raid, but we did get to see what looks to be a Vandal, probably a Vandal boss, charging up a new weapon. But there we go, Guardians, that is it for the new raid. I cannot wait to see more from this thing, and now I'm way more excited for next week than I really even thought was possible. But that's it, Guardians. That's pretty much every big thing that I can think of from the Bungie ViDoc A Path Forward. They go on a lot in this ViDoc to talk a bit about the things that they started, the revolution with Destiny 2 that they've started with Forsaken, really turning this game around, and how they want to continue that when it comes to Black Armory, Joker's Wild, Penumbra, and any of the content they see moving forward. And I really have to say that I'm feeling that sentiment when it comes to the content releases that we've had as of late. Bungie really turned a corner with Forsaken. The game is probably in the best place Destiny has ever been. We had to go a long way to get to this point, but seeing Bungie want to continue the path they're on right now, rather than throwing things away and starting over kind of like we did between Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, I'm so happy to see them continue this path, and I cannot wait to get my hands on Black Armory next week. But alright Guardians, that is it for this not so quick wrap up of the Bungie ViDoc A Path Forward. If you haven't seen it yet, please don't just take this video as everything that was in that ViDoc. Go and watch it. There'll be a link to it in the description box below. Definitely go check it out. It's fantastic, and it's always really interesting to hear from Bungie about their design philosophy when it comes to this stuff. But that's it for this one, Guardians. Thank you all so much for watching. If there was anything big I forgot to cover in this video, be sure to let us know down in the comment section below. There was a lot of stuff in there. I wouldn't be surprised if there are 1 or 2 things that I left out. But anyways, I'm out for now. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest stuff we're putting out. But as always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians stay frosty, and I can't wait to see you next week in Black Armory.